Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ramon Cardenas. This is Melody Maker. It's music making for everyone. What is Melody Maker? It's essentially a music app for musicians or anyone really who wants to quickly draft up some music. It's a desktop application that was made in PyQt. If you're unfamiliar with PyQt, it's a GUI for Python that allows us to build desktop applications as well as other useful utilities. So pretty much for this application, you're going to just open it up and start playing some music. The motivation behind this application was that I'm a musician who doesn't have a deep knowledge of music theory. So what I was trying to do is kind of bridge that gap between needing to have this deep knowledge of music theory and being able to play great music. So what I'm trying to do is essentially just kind of give you the chords, the tools and the keys and the notes for you to make great music without needing to be some like musical maestro to do so. So at the same time, I thought that it would be a great educational tool because I thought you'll be able to learn, some new chords and things like that along the way. Just a brief musical background so you understand the foundation of my application. Essentially, we have in Western music these 12 keys of music. Each key is pretty much just a collection of pitches and different notes. And we think that they are a coherent family. So we say, hey, these notes, they sound great together. We'll put them together in this group and we'll call this a key. When you play these notes simultaneously, you create what's called a triad, more commonly referred to as a chord. And when you start playing a few chords together, we're up and running. We're playing some music. So that's essentially what our application is going to do. We're going to put some chords together and quickly start playing some music. So let's go ahead and switch over now to the application. I'll kind of walk you through it here. So these are my main buttons right here. They're pretty much the life source of the application because they are going to play our corresponding sounds. So you'll see right here they're Roman numeral numbered 1 through 7. That's what we do in music so that we can play the same chord progressions no matter what musical key we're in. Up here we have our actual chord names so you can see what you're playing. So this, for example, is going to be B flat. Then we have C minor, D minor, etc. And these pretty much just work. They'll play their corresponding sounds. So I'll click a couple, and you can hear that there. And they have keyboard shortcuts so that it's just a bit more intuitive. That way you can kind of just play it this way. And I think it just kind of works better when you're in the creative music process, The magic of the application, though, kind of happens right here. This is where we select our keys. And essentially what it does is it's going to provide us all our different sounds so that we kind of broaden our musical palette here. So whereas I would normally gravitate to something more familiar to me, I would play something like this. Well, I can't vocally, that's not really somewhere where I want to be. So what I would do is I can switch over to this key now. Now I've got a whole different set of sounds, not only something that's new for me, but it's actually something that vocally works for me. So now that turns into something like this. So send me your location, let's focus on communicating, cause I just need a time and a place to come through. So now this is like a new that's kind of the whole idea, is that we kind of broaden that sonic spectrum that you have, and you have more creative outlets for music creation. This view chords button here is actually kind of neat because what it does is it just kind of populates all of our data, and here are all of our keys over here on this side, and then on the right side you have all the corresponding chords and notes. So if you want to use it for reference to see, hey, can I use these two chords in another key, that's right there. This data is available for you. And also you can actually just use it as an educational tool. If you want to learn some new chords and stuff, you got that right there at your disposal. So this is easily my favorite part of the application. It's a 7th chords button. Essentially, we take our triad that I just spoke about and we slap another note on top of it, and it just kind of creates a whole new sound library. So essentially, we're getting a whole nother set of different sounds. So I'll give you an example here so you can kind of hear how they sound. Again, it's just kind of like a different flavoring, and just supposed to kind of spark that creative outlet for you to make new and different music. So what this happens. Essentially what it does is these chords are used a lot in jazz music, R&B music, and things like that. So again, just different sounds for you to play around with. Up here we have our record, play, and stop buttons. They do exactly what you think they do. So if you're playing your chords and you want to save your melody, that option's there for you right there. And then we also finally up here just have an open and save. And when you pretty much just save your files, you can play them back at a different time. So I'll just kind of show you how that's meant to kind of work here. And that'll be the gist of it. So. All right, and that is a brief introduction to Melody Maker. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
So we'll take some questions. Who has questions? Hands up.
Ray?
Ray.
What music sampling did you use to generate the tones?
I actually recorded all the sounds myself. Sorry?
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah, would you like to, so he said what music,
Well, how did you sample the album?
how did I sample the sounds? I actually recorded them myself. I use a digital audio workstation and a MIDI keyboard, so I pretty much just recorded all the chords myself. Any other questions? In the back of it?
Do you have any plans to like expand octaves?
Do I have any plans to expand what, I'm sorry?
Octaves? Because like right now it's very specific to your tone range, but like if somebody was singing higher, like
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the first things that I wanted to do, was kind of add an octave thing. However, there was a bit of a learning curve with me with PyQt. I thought that I was just going to slap buttons together and it was obviously all going to work, you know, like it's supposed to, obviously. So yeah, that was definitely a thing that I wanted to have a different window, choose different octaves. So not only are you getting these sounds, but you're getting them at different, you know, depths and heights. So yeah, obviously, like I sing at a certain, you know, certain tone, and you might have a different voice, obviously.
All right, I have the question that I promised I was going to ask you. What's a question that you asked your mentor?
Questions that I asked Ed over here, who was fantastic, by the way, was, does this make sense? You know, I would so many times put things together, and I'm like, I think this kind of makes sense, but Ed was a massive help for me when I would kind of write something. When I first started my code, essentially it just turned into a slew of like if-else statements. And Ed was there helping me choose the appropriate data structures, things like that, and helping me understand how they would help simplify my code and actually improve my performance as well.
Time for one more question.
Yes?
Repeat.
Okay, so the question was how much Python did I know beforehand here? Actually, I'd say it's a little over a year now. So I started out and you know, just kind of fell in love with it. I literally typed in Python into like Python Chicago into Google, and this was the first page that popped up, and here I am, and I'm glad to be here.
One more round of applause.